Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are. This is Mr. Shakespeare going with you on the 8th of May, 2024, joined as usual by psychic medium man, remote viewer Liz Cross. How are we doing today, Liz?
Dodging tornadoes. How are you?
All right. No tornadoes where I am. Right. This is a dead politicians special, apart from one who's not dead. So we're going to go through a cast of characters. We're going to start off with Vladimir Lenin.
Okay. I have him here.
Is it true while he was alive, he said that he didn't want Stalin to take over?
Is it true while you're alive that you didn't want Stalin to take over? Yes.
Awesome. Okay, what do you think of what's going on in Europe at the moment, vis-a-vis what's going on with Europe, Ukraine, and Russia?
What do you think about what's going on in Europe? It's dreadful. He's not happy about it.
Okay. Does he think that it's going to get resolved anytime soon? Or does he think that Europe and Russia will end up in a war with each other? Or does he think that something else?
Do you think it's going to be resolved anytime soon? No, it's not going to be resolved anytime soon. Do you think that Europe is going to end up at war with Russia? Just about.
Was that more likely to happen this year or next year? 2024,
Next year.
2025, or 2026?
Is it 2024? 25.
Okay. Will this be a declared war, or will it be sort of a proxy war or a silent war sort of thing?
This is going to be a declared war. No one wants to declare war. No one. They're all waiting for each other to make the first move.
Of course, yeah, because then they can blame that. So what starts this non-declared war then? Is it a false flag? Is something happen? Does one of the European nations do something? Is NATO involved?
Is NATO gets involved? Is it a false flag? No, but slowly he's telling me Europe is moving men to the area.
Okay. Will the United States be involved?
Will the United States be involved? They'll be on standby.
So this will be another war fought in Europe.
I don't think it's going to get to that point.
Okay.
I don't think, is it going to get to that point? Nobody really wants to, well, I say no one really wants to have, start a European world war, right? Because that's how it usually starts, right? It's Europe and then everybody else starts getting involved. But nobody is willing to take responsibility for starting the world war.
Okay.
They're not going to go that far. Their reputations are at stake. They're too scared about the repercussions. They're too scared about how much blood will be shed, right? And who's going to be to blame for that blood. And they're very frightened about, pinpointing the one thing that causes the war. You remember, well, I know you weren't around, but you remember a lot of times wars are caused over certainly in the past, what are seen sometimes is something quite petty. Remember, they killed Franz Ferdinand. Wasn't that the start of World War I?
Well, that was a catalyst that was used, but I mean, it was
Right.
already baked in the cake that it was going to happen. So,
Right. And so nobody wants to be that catalyst. No one wants to have that responsibility.
right,
It's too much of a risk. And it's also about, they know that the people don't want war. So
no,
if they were to take a risk like that and say, yes, we'll be the ones to make the first move, the people will turn against them and
yeah,
possibly overthrow the whole system.
right, okay. So they don't want that. All right, let's just let's hold him there. Let's go. Let's go and see. Get this to work.
Oh, here we go.
Britain's favourite warmonger.
The big man himself, Churchill. He says he was busy. What do you want? He's
Well,
teasing.
what does he think of the current situation in Europe vis-a-vis Ukraine, Russia, and everything?
So, as he comes through, he has very strong opinions and he has a lot of power about himself, right? Very strong personality.
Hmm.
What do you think about? Let's go for it.
Yeah. Well, he is a warmonger. Okay. Um, it's
Do
not
you
a.
think?
Does he believe that Britain, United Kingdom, should be involved in this?
Absolutely, yes. It's
Uh,
good for business.
there you go. Well, he was instrumental in the Bankers' War of the so-called Second World War, or what the Russians call the Great Patriotic War. Let's just hold him there a minute and let's have a chat with Charles de Gaulle, please.
Okay. Wow. Very interesting. The first thing that comes through is the French are ill prepared. There's no way that they can enter into a war.
Okay, so why is their current president Macron posturing and saying he's going to send troops to Ukraine and he's going to do this and he's going to do that? Why is he doing that?
He's all hot air. He knows there's no money for it. And the what he Charles de Gaulle is saying to me is that they all these countries would have to look for funding from the US to fund
Right.
this war.
Okay. Um,
There's no money to for this. France
okay.
is broke. I'm getting that so strongly. It's almost on the verge of bankruptcy. They won't admit it, but it's broke.
Right. But is one of the reasons why they're pushing for war, because war is is because the situation in Europe or in France and Europe, is it because that they have no money? I mean, war is the biggest creator of debt on the planet. So, if Europe is going to be more aggressive, or France is leading Europe's aggression at the moment. Does that have anything to do with it? Is it because, you know, the I don't know. I mean, it just
So
seems
he's disagreeing with you.
he's agreeing with me or disagreeing.
No, he's disagreeing. He's saying right now the main aggressor in, with regards to Russia is the Ukraine being backed by the US. So he believes that the US is the main aggressor
Oh
at the
no,
moment.
no, sorry. Yeah, sorry. I agree with him. That is true. Ukraine is being used by proxy by the US. Okay, but as far as Europe is concerned, Europe is in a really bad financial situation. Not just France, but the whole of Europe is in a really bad financial situation. And, there's a lot of talk that Europe would Europe is considering going to war with Russia to solve its financial problem, which of course America would be happy with because America doesn't care about Europe. So does Charles de Gaulle think that, Europe is in any danger, or does it think that Europe will, do something stupid and provoke a war with Russia?
Do you think that Europe will do something stupid? Well, let's ask it this way. Do you think that Europe will enter into a war with Russia? No, they don't dare. They cannot handle a war with Russia. Okay. Financially, they cannot do it. They would have to have financial backing from the US. What about Canada? I don't even think they're looking to Canada to help them. They don't think that Canada has a lot of money. It's only the US that has the surplus in their eyes and their personal thoughts, feelings, and opinions to fund the war. They're the only ones that are really throwing lots and lots of money at the war already. I mean, other countries are throwing money at the war, but it's nothing in comparison to what the US can throw at the war. And the US can go into debt, he's telling me, without suffering too greatly. These countries, France, the UK, according to de Gaulle's opinion, Germany, Spain, they're on their knees already with financials. I mean, they don't even know how they're going to dig themselves out of this hole, this post-COVID hole. And they're trying to unravel, he's saying, this mess within their own countries, let alone fight a war. It would be heavily dependent upon funding. Now, that funding would actually go into and help the economy greatly. So each individual economy who, let's say they entered into a war, what I'm getting from de Gaulle is that, okay, that would help in the recovery process, but it would need to be money from outside sources.
Right. Well, the US, I would think, probably would gladly lend Europe money to destroy itself on the altar of Russia.
You think? But you know what?
Benefits the US.
I'm getting to know.
No?
Okay, so as you say that, I group the US quickly as an entity. Would you like to fund and bankroll a European war against Russia? I'm getting a no.
I'm not talking about this year. What about, say, well, they won't do it this year. They've got an election. What about next year or 26?
They really would rather not.
Okay. All right. So let's go back to de Gaulle then and ask him why he thinks that, Macron and Schultz and all the other the leaders, why are they jumping up and down and making these veiled threats and saying they're going to put troops on the ground and do all sorts of antagonistic things to Russia?
They are going to put troops on the ground. They are going to follow through with that.
Right. Okay.
Okay. But they're trying to take a stand. They're trying to show you cannot bully us. And part of them are getting scared because what's coming after the Ukraine? They've already accepted the fact that Ukraine's going to lose the war. De Gaulle is telling me this. Everybody knows this. They were hopeful in the beginning. Now they know it's not going to happen, and they understand that. They're more now concerned with the fact that what's next after Ukraine? Are the Russians going to keep trying to push through Europe?
No, not at all. No.
Well, you say that. Let's ask. So I'm going to grab Putin and say, are you going to, if you win Ukraine successfully, and you still have a lot of money left over. Are you willing to push forward into other countries? Not at this moment. So, when we have mind probed him in the beginning, which was like 2 years ago, and in the beginning, it was, I'm going to win the Ukraine, and then I'm going to push forward. I'm going to try to go into like Hungary, is what we kept getting, Hungary. And then we're going to go into like these other, he didn't
We
care.
ever got that. No, I don't think we ever got that he wants.
No, we did. We did. It may not have been with you. I think it was with Max. The video. I know I remember this because it scared everybody. But obviously now this is dragged on.
There's no rational military or any sense why Russia is the biggest landmass on the planet. It does not need, it's not trying to recreate its Soviet past. It does not, I mean, there's a lot of hatred towards Russia from the ex-Soviet, they call them Soviet Chihuahuas, Lithuania and Moldova, I don't know, Bulgaria or whatever. I mean, there's a lot of, but Russia going. I mean, Russia will not do anything unless it's going to be attacked by these countries or by NATO. I mean, NATO, the NATO expansion, which Bill Clinton originally said that would never happen, of course, has happened. And that's what Russia is against. Why does it want to take over Hungary? Why does it want to take over? No need.
I'll tell you, that was in the beginning. So a couple of years ago, he honestly, when we pro Putin, you can go back through the videos, because they're there, hundreds and hundreds of videos ago. We pro Putin, and his idea at the time, that mind probe uncovered that he wasn't going to stop at the Ukraine. He was going to try and grab other parts of other regions as well. And now, obviously,
no, you did. You never. You never
no,
did.
he did. It was with Max. And what we got now is that this has gone on, because as I connect to Putin now, he's saying, no, we would have to reconvene, deal with this, problem first, trying to rebuild the Ukraine, and then eventually, maybe if we could, we would move things out. But in the beginning, absolutely, we got that from Putin. Absolutely, 100% when I mind probed him. There was a specific reason he wanted to go into those countries. And also, at that time, if I remember correctly, Hungary, the leader of Hungary, was very supportive and really pro-Russian. And so he thought it was going to be an easy way in. That's what we got. Now, bearing in mind, you know a lot more about this situation historically. I know you follow this situation, and I didn't know any of that. And that's what we got from our early probes of Putin. Absolutely. And don't forget, 2 years ago, I said we would be on the brink of World War III. In fact, even before Russia invaded the Ukraine, Liz actually says, and those of you that have been following me for a long time, you'll remember that I said World War III. And sort of that put the Discord in a spin, and everybody was chatting about it on the Discord. It looks like, according to our panel here, we're going to get really, really close.
Okay. Well, I'll beg to differ, or all I'll say is if that was a probe done with Matt at the time, it was wrong. I'm going to say, in my personal thoughts and opinion, it was wrong. Diplomat that America had, because the ones that they've got now are shocking. Let's just ask James Baker. Now, he's still alive, I believe.
Okay.
What does he think of the current proxy war with Russia using Ukraine?
What do you think of the current proxy war with Russia? He thinks it's a disgrace.
Right.
We have no business being involved in that whatsoever, he's telling me.
Right, but America is funding it principally.
Right. America is funding it principally. Yes, he says, I'm aware of that. But there would have been many other ways to sort this problem out without having to spend loads and loads of money.
Well, yeah, I mean, one of the ways to sort the problem out was to not fund it, and then Ukraine would have, would have used up its resources and much quicker than it has. So, it's America's money that's keeping Ukraine war going. If America stops funding it tomorrow, then it wouldn't last very long.
That's true. He says that. I just asked him and he agreed. But he would have tried to done it, to sort this problem out in a more diplomatic way.
Of course, because he was a proper diplomat.
Well, people respected him as well. And is what he's saying. He could have gotten the attention of Putin. He said the problem is nobody has any respect for the US anymore.
Well, no, and there's no communication between the office of the president of the United States and the office of the president of Russia. So, Putin does not speak to Biden. Biden does not speak to Putin. So there's no, there is no high level discussion between them. And then, Putin doesn't Biden hates Putin and Putin probably hates Biden. But regardless, I mean, there's been no discussion.
Point where he and his personal thoughts, feelings, and opinions, his words, where they're going to reach out and snap each other's necks. That's what he believes. It's going to get that close that you can touch the enemy and snap their neck.
Right. Is this going to have a bearing, or will it have a bearing, does he believe, on the US presidential election in November?
No, everything's going to take place after the election.
Right. So they're going to just hold it on the back burner, so to speak. Yeah. Does he think?
Absolutely. Half the stuff that's going on isn't even hitting the news.
No, well, I know that. No. Well, it's on, it's on some of the Telegram channels and alternative. It's not hitting the mainstream. That's for sure. Okay. Right. Let's go back to Charles de Gaulle a minute. What happens with the European Union elections in June?
Power changes hands.
Does it move more to the right politically?
Does it move more to the right politically? He believes it's going to even out overall. It some move right, some move left.
Right. Okay. What will happen? Will there be any form of debt crisis in the EU in the next year or two?
It already is in debt crisis.
I know. What I mean is, will it be even more problematic, pronounced that, they can't cover it up anymore, that kind of thing?
No, they'll still continue to cover it up. And they're borrowing money.
Okay. How do they? Okay. So are they going to? Do they have any intention of paying any of this money back, or the bondholders going to get stuffed?
They can't afford to pay it back.
So you've got fertile ground there for a war, and they're borrowing money, but they haven't got it. They've got no intention of borrowing it. Paying it back. Wow. Okay. Right. Let's. What are we going to do now? I'll tell you what we're going to do now. Let's get this guy. This is Herr Willy Brandt. As he was previously a Chancellor of Germany.
Okay.
What does he think of the current situation as regards Germany's relationship with Russia?
What do you think about? What do you think about the current situation between Germany and Russia? He's like, where do I begin?
At the beginning, Willie. Tell us what you know, what you think.
Well, he's like, first of all, at least Germany's not causing all the problems. For once, it's not all eyes on us. It took years to repair that reputation, he's telling me. And it's going to take many decades for Russia to repair this reputation. What do you think about the current state at the moment? He says Germany has no way of backing up what they're saying, their threats.
Does Russia know this?
No.
Okay. What does he think of the current leadership of the European Union as an entity?
What do you think? It's a recipe for disaster.
Okay.
The nations should be sovereign, and he would abolish the European Union.
Right. Obviously, the EU's current Commission unelected president is German. There's 2 or 3 other German leaders politicians that are in the EU that are part of the situation. Does he think that is doing a good? The European Union are doing a good job, or
no, because nobody's willing to make a decision, and nobody's willing to make the first move. Russia knows that. That's their advantage point, or their is it vantage or advantage? I don't know. That's where they are. They know that the European Union is weak. And they've always been able to count on that fact.
right?
That it was just a hand-holding exercise. Oh, let's stand in a circle and hold hands and show we're friends. And it's nothing more than that.
Okay. All right. I think that's enough for this probe. I think we've covered quite a lot of exits and entrances on this one.
Yeah, definitely. But it looks like when will it heat up? And I feel like at the, sort of the end of this year going into next year, that's when we're going to start seeing a little bit more action. But don't get frightened of that, because I feel that it will end up being a peaceful resolution. And if that's the only way to make peace or to stop or come to some sort of conclusion, then that's a good thing, because you don't want this to drag out for much longer. There's too many people that have been killed. Okay, well, thanks for putting this together, and I will stop this one here.